The heartfelt plea of Pope Francis for political leaders to put an end to the war in Syria, and a request for prayers by friars still in Aleppo and Damascus. The life of two Syrian friars, students of the custody of the Holy Land, an expression of hope and a search for holiness as expressed in Gaudate et Exultate, the new apostolic exhortation from Pope Francis. At Jifna near Ramallah, the photographer Arin Rennawi has established the first academy in the Palestinian territories to specialize in the art of images. In 1987, the Rosary Sisters established a center for instruction in sewing and fashion. Here, students in Jerusalem learn the theory and practice of these arts. The Shrine of the Book within the Israel Museum houses the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest extant biblical manuscripts.
I am deeply disturbed by the current situation in this world, for it is a world in which, despite all the means available to the international community in general, it remains difficult to reach agreement on some kind of joint action which might conceivably lead to peace in Syria, as well as in other regions of the planet. Pope Francis had expressed himself in these terms following a recitation of the Regina Coeli prayer on Sunday, April the 15th. While I pray incessantly for peace, I invite all people of goodwill to do the same, he said, and he added, I appeal once again to all political leaders to see that justice and peace prevail. The friars of the custody of the Holy Land, present in Damascus and Aleppo, echoed this. We thank everyone who thinks of us and who prays for us. We are deeply saddened because there are signs that the war in Syria will not end that easily. The resolve by differing international groups to continue fighting on Syrian territory is very strong, and so the war is likely to continue for a long time.
È molto forte e quindi questa guerra continuerà a lungo.
At the same time, there is some fear that the war will continue with new vigor.
Continuate.
Please continue to pray for us. Continue to pray for the people and for peace. Our heartfelt thanks to all the friars and to everyone who thinks of us. United in prayer, we can overcome evil with Christ, who has overcome evil, and even death.
Il male e anche la morte.
Horizons open up, indicating a path, and there are paths which intersect with links that are even stronger than ties of blood. George and Johnny, twins from Aleppo in Syria, are student friars with the custody of the Holy Land. They share not only physical similarities, but a common commitment to fulfill the will of God, and this despite the challenges in their native land.
Quale senso ha la mia vita? Cioè vedendo, no, tutte queste cose, la trauma della guerra, la gente che veniva un po' ferita.
What is the meaning of my life? Aware of many things, the trauma of war, the wounded, the loss of family members, in the face of all this, I ask myself that question. What is the meaning of my life? And I feel that the Lord has plans for that life.
Mi suscitava questa domanda di qual è, cioè, il senso della mia vita, cioè il Signore mi ha creato per una cosa, no?
Growing up in a Christian family, participating in the activities of the parish of St. Francis of Assisi, activities reflecting the intense engagement of the Christians of Aleppo, the two brothers were searching for individual calling. Johnny, who wanted to be a physician, was the first to express a fervent desire to be a Franciscan friar, while George, who thought of being a film director, prayed in silence and heard the same call.
Finora la Chiesa in Siria ancora dà dei vocazioni, specialmente.
The Church in Syria encourages vocations, especially in time of war. We see that the hope of the people is very great, despite poverty and even a lack of essentials. Yet there is always a light which shines, and people persevere in hope, especially in remembering that after the cross there is resurrection. In his recent apostolic exhortation, Gaudete et Exsultate, Pope Francis describes the Beatitudes as the identity card of the Christian. This sense was already in the hearts of the twins, who decided to swim against the tide of what society considers to be the normal thing to do, just as the exhortation suggests.
Nelle beatitudini che il Papa ci ricorda, cioè di avere speranza, no? Gesù questo che diceva ai suoi ascoltatori lì quando era salito in montagna e cominciava a insegnare.
Starting with the Beatitudes, the Pope goes on to consider hope. Jesus had spoken to the crowds on a mountain in Galilee, outlining and explaining the Beatitudes. These tell us that we can have courage despite war. We know that the Church always lends her support, particularly to Christians, but in any case to all Syrians. They began their seminary studies back in 2014, with war already raging. It was a scenario from which would spring up upheaval, disharmony, and a lack of realistic prospects for the future. Nevertheless, George and Johnny expressed a strong desire to know the song and the enthusiasm of the Holy Spirit. As the Holy Father writes, holiness is boldness, fervour, and that evangelizing impetus which can leave its mark on this world. Even in the most unfavourable circumstances, there is always hope and productive life in God. The first photography academy in the Palestinian territories has been inaugurated in the village of Jifna, a stone's throw from Ramallah. The idea was conceived by Irene Rinawi, a young and popular local photographer who has gained energy, initiative and experience behind her lens, especially in the fields of events and social media.
The scope of this initiative is to teach every aspect of photography, in theory and practice, in the studio and in the field. We propose an unconventional approach, freeing the student to create his own space and to add a personal touch. Today marks the accomplishment of Arine's dream, the goal of a Palestinian woman determined to achieve excellence. It is really extraordinary, and I hope it will open up possibilities for many more young people who would like to specialize in this field.
بيتجهوا في هذا الاتجاه بالذات في ظروفنا الصعبة هاي. كل التحية للإعلاميين.
Many people, including professional photographers, local officials and celebrities, arrived for the opening, and among them was Yaqub Shaheen, 2017 winner of the reality television series Arab Idol. A novelty for the people as a whole, the Academy is sponsored by the Governorate of Ramallah and Al-Bire, as well as by the Palestinian Ministries of Labour and Education. It is also supported by private enterprise. This academy will be open to all young Palestinians. It does not cater to a specific social class, but to all who wish to specialize in photography, reflecting reality in this way through a center which is devoted to stimulating and increasing relevant knowledge. There will be various courses leading to the award of diplomas in subjects ranging from advertising, design, events, people and companies. Some scholarships will be available, and I will participate in teaching, as will some of the most renowned Palestinian photographers. I hope to be able to contribute something unique and to offer a service to society. Inscription is already open to anyone who has graduated from high school. If, as the photographer Henri Cartier-Bresson said, a successful photograph requires the alignment of the head, heart and eye, an academy such as this can only benefit all of society. It was in 1987 that the Rosary Sisters established a Center for Instruction in Sewing and Fashion Design at their convent in Jerusalem. The center currently involves 30 students under the careful guidance of Sister Emiliana Kanda, who teaches them in a 2-year course.
I have been teaching here for 31 years. The course lasts for 2 years, and in the first year the students learn the basics of sewing, as well as the design of a simple model. They gradually progress to reach excellent standards. If I were in their shoes, I would seek to do just that, to learn and to progress. Here we learn the basics, gradually adding detailed work. I learned how to take measurements and to sew, gaining remarkable experience. As second-year students, we progress further. I wear a veil, and I am very keen on providing accessories for veiled women, whereas such items in the local markets do not always reflect the latest fashions. As an example of what we can do, I designed and made the dress which I am wearing.
The courses are not limited to sewing, but involve the latest fashions so that we are able to meet local demands here in Jerusalem. The Rosary Sisters are always ready to offer their skills to students, and through the training which the girls receive here, there is an added advantage in that they are eventually able to help their families.
I have been studying here for a year, and during this time I have learned much. I already know how to design a garment, as well as to cut and finish it in a professional way. I have a hobby which I like very much. When we develop a piece of fabric on a dummy, we can obtain perfect results. It really is a job with a difference, and Sister Emiliana inspires us with her guidance and real commitment. I also produce habits for the sisters, as well as sacred vestments, so as to lend my abilities to liturgical requirements.
Sister Emiliana has gained considerable experience in selecting the fabrics and colors suitable for various occasions. In her convent, she produces the clothing for sisters in addition to priestly vestments. This experience enables the community to exercise quality control and therefore consumer confidence. The Israel Museum was established in 1965 as a national institution to preserve the history of this land, especially that concerning archaeology. This archaeology relates the stories of many peoples who lived here and who left physical traces of their cultures. Since its construction, the Shrine of the Book has housed the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest extant biblical manuscripts, discovered between 1947 and 1956 near Qumran. They were found in 11 caves, and they comprise the remains of about 950 scrolls. I say remains because, not surprisingly, very few of the scrolls were preserved in their entirety. Most of them are fragments, some of them large, but others small enough to fit into the palm of a hand. Many fragments are as tiny as a fingernail. The documents found at Qumran, attributed to the Essenes, some think, offer us an almost tangible impression of that community and their view of the world.
Nell'architettura del museo del santuario del libro.
Through the architecture of the museum's Shrine of the Book, the visitor enters a kind of cave, which is simultaneously physical and metaphorical. Here many objects can be seen and admired, and these tell the story of the sect's members, illustrating their daily life. Finally, emerging from the cave into the high white interior of the shrine, one can see the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Del santuario, che è la parte dove ci sono I rotoli del Mar Morto.
An experience which offers a journey through time, from darkness to light, through fragments of manuscripts and religious texts, through biblical comments, hymns, psalms, and community rules.
L'architettura che fa vedere appunto questi due elementi, che sono due elementi simbolici.
The architecture of the shrine represents two important symbolic features, namely a black basalt wall and a large clean white, one might say pristine dome. Together they symbolize a parchment which relates the story of the sons of light and the sons of darkness. According to a scroll, the history of these two groups will eventually end, and the sons of light will be victorious. Then the Messiah will appear.
Scontrare e i figli della luce vinceranno e allora arriverà il Messia.
From March to June, in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the discovery of the scrolls, the only existing copy of the Genesis Apocryphon, which dates from the 1st century BCE and which was found in 1947, is being exhibited.
Quello che abbiamo messo in luce in questi giorni
What we have been able to bring to light precisely for Passover this year are fragments of the scroll of Genesis Apocryphon, which of course is not canonical. In particular, these fragments are able to tell part of the story of the biblical flood. The name of Noah is written several times. Rain is mentioned, as is the sacrifice of Noah. With small variations, surely it is a story that we all know.
quella che noi conosciamo con delle piccole variazioni.